Hi, I'm Blaine Sutton with Blaine Sutton Music. Thanks for tuning in today. Today, I'm going to teach you the basic chords. Finally, I spent a lot of time talking about what to look for in a guitar and how to pick and navigating your way around. All super important stuff, which will hopefully lead to your quicker success. So, let's get into it. So today I'm going to teach you the basic chords that you're going to need to know to start playing songs and really playing guitar around the campfire. I'm going to edit in the chord diagrams that I like to use in the common fingerings so that you guys will be able to pause the video after each example and try the chord for yourself. After I get through all the most common and most important chords, I will show you some common progressions that are commonly used in songs. So you can get right onto the internet and start playing some of your favorite, 4-chord pop songs, 4-chord country songs, or whatever other kind of music you're into. And you can do it all with the chords that I'm going to show you today. It's picking up now, so let's get started. To explain the diagrams real quick, you'll see a little cutaway of the strings, and then the frets. Where the dots are is where you should place your fingers. If you see an X up here on the diagram at the part that represents it, that means don't play that string. A number will tell you what finger to use, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and so basically those chord diagram will tell you the name of the chord, where to place your fingers. Check out those chord diagrams. They will really help you get a very visual sense of where your fingers need to go. You should have no problem figuring that out, knowing what I just told you. The first chord that I want to show you guys is the G chord. We mentioned in our earlier video, thumb doesn't count as a finger, so you have your first finger, second finger, third finger, and fourth finger when you're looking at your palm. Index is first, pinky is fourth. So I for the G chord, take my second finger, put it on the 3rd fret on the 6th string. Then I take my first finger, put it on the 2nd fret of the 5th string. I leave the next 2 strings open, and I put my 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and I take my pinky finger, the 4th finger, and I put it on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. Again, all my fingers are bent to facilitate easy fingering of these chords, and I'm not using the flat part of my finger, I'm using the tippy tips, and that will help. So let's hear it. This is your G chord. You'll note that all the notes ring clearly and are very pristine in their tone, a result of using your fingertips and going through each note to make sure you're getting a clear tone as well on each string. Next is the C chord. It is played by using the 3rd finger on the 3rd fret on the 5th string, the 2nd finger on the 2nd fret on the 4th string, skipping the next string, taking your 1st finger and putting it on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, and then it's just open E string. And this chord, you don't strum all the strings, you strum from the 5th string down to the 1st string. Those I call them the top 5 strings of the guitar. And again, pick each one slowly to make sure you're getting a nice clear sound. Okay, the next chord is the D chord. this is going to be played on the top 4 strings, starting with your open D. So your open D, then you have your first finger on the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and then your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. And here's what that sounds like. And again, make sure, practice it slowly to make sure you're getting a nice clear tone from each string. The next chord is gonna be E minor. And that is played one of 2 ways. So it's going to be all 6 strings. You're going to either take your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string and your 3rd finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. You'll notice that I kind of have them pinched together like that, so they're pretty close, so I can get them as high up in the fret as possible, keeping in mind my earlier rules of how to use the frets. Without further ado, here's what that sounds like. Highlighting the importance of keeping your fingers out of the way. The other way to finger that E minor chord is taking your first finger on the 2nd fret on the 5th string, and then taking your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. So again, the two fingerings for E minor are or with the 2nd and 3rd finger, or the same thing with the 1st and 2nd finger. Again, they sound exactly the same. It's just you're just choosing which fingers you prefer. I prefer students to learn it with the 2nd and 3rd finger, but depending on the song, it may be easier and faster to grab it with the 1st and 2nd finger. Your mileage may vary. The reason I like to do it with the 2nd and 3rd finger is because of this next chord. This relates very closely to E minor. So you take your E minor with the 2nd finger and 3rd finger fingering pattern, and you strum that minor quality chord. Now take your first finger and put it on the 1st fret of the 3rd string. That is your E major chord. So the only difference between those two is your first finger. Very nice. Again, strum it slowly to make sure you're getting each note cleanly and clearly out of the guitar. Okay, the next chord is going to be F. Now, the true way to play it is with this bar across all across the 1st fret on all the strings. But most people, when they're learning guitar, can't do that. It's uncomfortable for your hand. A lot of people get sore and tired. It discourages them. So another one that sounds nice is this fingering, which is out of this full shape. It's just cut down to be a little bit easier to finger, and it's still used, even in more advanced music. But we'll work on this one for now. So you're going to take your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret on the 4th string, then your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, and then your 1st finger is going to bar, meaning the 1st finger is going to finger both of these 1st frets on both the 2nd and the 1st string. Like that, you should be able to get a clear sound out of those two. Then, strumming the whole chord, so that should sound like. This one's really important to go slow on. Make sure you get a nice clean sound out of all the strings. Lastly, we have the A minor and the A chord. The A minor chord is played with the top 5 strings, and you play the open A, then you take your second finger and put it on the 2nd fret on the 4th string. You take your 3rd finger, put it on the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, and then you take your 1st finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, and the chord sounds like this. Again, only strum the top 5 strings. Go slowly and make sure you get a nice clean sound. That's the A minor chord. You'll notice that the shape of this that your fingers are in is the same as the E major chord. A little tidbit to help you memorize those. When you're basing it off the 5th string, it's the A minor chord. When you're basing that same shape of the 2, 3, 1 that on the top 5 strings and move it down to all 6 strings, you get E major. And so that's a way to memorize the difference between those two. I find it helps a lot of my students. Then, so we go back to the A minor. You take that, and you go, and you take your 4th finger, you lift up your 1st finger, you take your 4th finger, and you put it down on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string, leaving the high E string open, and this chord sounds like this. So this is your A chord, making sure you get a nice clean sound. You can also finger this. Instead of using the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th finger, you can use your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd finger. Usually a little bit easier for people to get. Again, that's you're basically using these 3 fingers all across the 2nd fret on the 4th string, 3rd string, and 2nd string. So, those are the basic chords that you need to know on guitar. But before I close out this video, I wanted to go over some common progressions. So, you're going to probably have to pause it and go back and get these under your fingers. But here's some common song progressions that you can put to good use. This is pretty exciting. So, you start out with the G chord. That plays for a measure, 4 beats. Then you can go to the D chord. Then you go to the E minor chord. With either fingering, it's your choice. And then you go to the C chord. And that's pretty nice. And that's your standard 4-chord song. It goes to... In any given key, it goes to the 1 chord, to the 5 chord, to the 6 chord, to the 4 chord. We'll explain more about that theory, but the Axis of Awesome 4-chord song is a great example of how common and useful this progression is. It sounds really nice, and it's used in a ton of songs. So you put those 4 together, G, D, E minor, and C. There's probably 100 songs that that you could start to work on and play on the guitar. So that is super exciting. Then to take that same thing and to put it in a different key. You go C to G to A minor to F. And that is the same progression, the 1, 5, 6, 4 progression, just in a different key. So, you know, 2 ways to play the same thing. Again, this one is C, G, A minor, and F. Sounds very nice. So try working on those 2 and have fun surfing the internet looking for some of those tunes to play. Ultimate Guitar is a great website to check out. You know, you can look up all those chords. There are literally a billion songs that use those that chord progression, and especially in both of those 2 keys, as they're very popular and commonly encountered keys. So I hope this video was super useful. Thanks for tuning in. Again, I'm Blaine Sutton with Blaine Sutton Music, and I hope you learned something today. Please like and subscribe, and I'll be back again with another cool video on how to pick. So we'll see you next time, and have a good one. Take it easy.